It is officially race week for the 106th Indianapolis 500 here from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum. Tony Donahue, Luke Edwards, the IndyCar show, Burnout Sports, burnoutsports.com. Luke, tell them where we are exactly.
We are in the storied basement, in the basement collection of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum. Whew. So this is my home. You know, this is my my day-to-day job, and since it's May, pretty much everybody's living at the track. We figured, why not go ahead and do the podcast here?
Well, I certainly appreciate it. I know people would go crazy to even get a glimpse down here. Let's talk about first this car behind us, Robbie Gordon's 1994 Walker Racing Cummins Valvoline Special. My first race was 94, actually, so goes well, but an absolute beautiful piece of machinery that we have behind us here.
Yeah, and you know, they're just very popular, the 90s cars right now, especially with guys our age. And to be honest, it was, let's be real, it was one of the closest ones to the Sonax detailing bay.
Oh, okay.
So Tony
Perfect.
and I just wheeled it in here, and yeah, we figured most people don't get to see this car very often. Mm-hmm. You might have seen it a little bit in the Twitterverse the last couple of days, but you know, people kind of like those mid-90s cars. Why not show it off a little bit more?
Yeah, D-Land, we know you got yours in front of it too, but we're going to do ours. All right, we have so much to discuss. It's finally race week for the Indianapolis 500, as mentioned. Let's just start with qualifying. You know, a new format heading in, that top 12 instead of the top 9. Friday was chaotic with Fast Friday and those crazy winds. And then Saturday you had weather, and whether or not you were going to be able to get all 33, at least for one attempt. You got 32 of the 33. Steph Wilson had some issues with his engine. He'll start 33rd with no time. But again, we saw massive speeds on Saturday, massive speeds on Sunday. Scott Dixon, 5th career Indianapolis 500 pole. Your overall take of what we saw both Saturday and Sunday?
Well, I'm going to even take it one step back and touch on Fast Friday a little bit. The first day that they turned the boost up, we already were seeing some pretty intense speeds and race trim leading up to Fast Friday. But how about those speeds, the trap speeds going into turn 3? I saw a couple of guys on the telemetry hit a 244. Oof. I think the official record was like a 233 something, but let's just say 244 because that's what NBC Sports said.
Sounds a lot better.
Sounds a lot better. So sending it into turn 3 at those speeds, you know, on entry is just insane. And of course they had that tailwind. Yeah. But it did not disappoint on Sunday, going for the pole. Saturday, I think you saw a solid top 12. We even had Jimmy Johnson in the mix. We keep telling people. He admits he eats a lot of crow on the road and street courses. He has to eat that humble pie. Don't count him out on these ovals.
You know, Ganassi as a whole all weekend was super impressive. All 5 of their cars will start towards the front of the field with 2 in the front row with Scott Dixon and Alex Palou. You know, when we went to bed on Saturday night, it was Renus VK and the fastest speeds for a 4-lap average that we have seen in years since 1996, which we will get into. Dixon gets it done, which, you know, it's kind of on the I wouldn't say outside looking in on Saturday, but he wasn't that, he had the front row speed all week, but then in qualifying, he just didn't have it. And it was obviously a lot warmer when he went out on Saturday. And basically your goal on Saturday was just to get to Sunday, right? Get into that top 12, get to Sunday's shootout. He does that. Very impressed by him. You look at some other guys, Kanaan, O'Ward, Rosenquist inside of that top 9. Sato. So let's talk about Sato. Saturday, I would say a pretty big screw up. Right, you stay on the track after your attempt. You're not in the warm-up lane. Marco comes around. You don't have spotters. Marco's tweet was like, didn't know we needed spotters during qualifying. And then, you know, he gets his time taken away, which wasn't the best of time, let's be honest. And I don't know if it was good enough to even get him into the top 12. So he was coming back out anyway. Comes back out, throws it into, I believe, the 12th spot, and is basically on the bubble. Rains come, everybody gets an attempt. Rains come on Saturday. Scott McLaughlin goes out and I believe goes from 13th, where he was, to where he's going to start in 26. Now, Sage Karam got to go out as well and gained, I believe, 5 spots, but tough for McLaughlin there. The top 12 was set, came back and did it again on Sunday. We saw some great speeds in practice Sunday morning. At Carpenter was quick. He'll start 4th. Scott Dixon as well. I like the format. The top 12 was fun. I think let's take Ed Carpenter, for example, who's an owner as well, probably looks at it as like, I don't really want to have to put it on the line 3 times to qualify on the pole or qualify in the top 12. So if you're starting 12th, like you're at Takuma Sato or Will Power or Jimmy Johnson, you're probably going like, man, just to qualify 12th or 11th, I would have rather like not done those 2 attempts. But it was cool to see Rick Mears go out and pace that top 6.
The cool down lap.
The cool down lap was cool. So we'll see how they tweak this moving forward. But I thought it did, Luke, give a little bit more drama without having that back row shootout.
Yeah, and it showed what teams I think really have a handle on this month, especially in qualifying trim and just raw speed. You see, Ganassi got all of their cars in.
Yep.
McLaren got 2 out of 3. ECR got 2 out of 3. And then the Fast 6, there were only 2 teams represented in those 6 teams, and that was 4 Ganassis and 2 ECR cars that ended up going for the shootout. I think it was exciting. I saw a lot of people on social media saying,
great crowd too.
Oh, huge crowd. It's one of the best crowds that we've seen out here in recent years. I know we'll get to the Dixon lap, but when people were clicking off a big fast lap, if anyone hit 1 lap over 2:34, the crowd just lost it. They love seeing those numbers posted on the boards. I think it was a great substitute, and I think that format could even work. Why not put these guys on the hot seat?
Yeah.
Why not make them do 3 runs? 1 to get into the Fast 12. If you're in the Fast 12, you got to go out again to get into the Fast 6. So if you win the pole, you've done this nerve-wracking thing, potentially, depending on how your Saturday went, maybe 4 times.
Yeah.
If you've had a bad Saturday and had to go out for a second run. But, I think there were some surprising people that didn't make it, too.
Well, let's get to that. I think big surprises, even though they didn't qualify well last year either, but Penske only getting 1 car in Will Power. Joseph Newgarden on the outside looking in. I think Joseph probably had one of the luckier breaks of the weekend, knowing that he was on deck. I think he did even pull out after Scott McLaughlin went, and then there was a light. Yeah, he was on because he came down in front of me. He was on the course later in the evening after Sage Karam and McLaughlin went, and Newgarden, they gave him his time back, would have ended up probably back in the 20s too. So surprised by Penske only getting 1 out of their 3 cars in, and then I think Elio Castroneves comes to mind starting in the 27th spot.
Yeah, Elio comes to mind. I know looking here at row 6, you have Simon Pagenaud, 2019 winner, who has had great race trim speeds.
Yep.
You have Hildebrand, who came in 2nd and 11, and he's always pretty solid around here. And you have Daly, who led a plethora of laps in last year's 500 and has been chipping away at his understanding of this course and the 4 corners that make up this crazy track that change every single year. He's looking more and more solid. He finished in 7th in the most recent practice on Monday. So that row 6, you might have some movers and shakers there. You've got Newgarden in the row in front of him, middle of row 5. But this Fast 12, these guys are not going to be easy to pass.
Well, I think, and we'll go through this row by row here as well. J.R. Hildebrand is a guy that on Sunday, you could literally not hear from that guy all day, and then all of a sudden you look up and you're like, oh, there's 10 laps to go, and Hildebrand's 7th. Like, he's that consistently good over 500 miles. He's obviously one of the most smart guys, so to speak, technically, in the series, even though he only runs, Indy, but he's a guy that we know knows how to save his equipment, knows how to get towards the end. So let's get into it. Let's get into this 500. Let's go through row by row. We'll try to do as quickly as possible, starting with row 11. Just thoughts, chances to win. In row 11, Steph Wilson, Jack Harvey, Christian Lundgaard. Disappointing, I think, for Steph to not get an attempt, but Harvey and Lundgaard just very much so off the pace. Ray Hall didn't really qualify that well as a whole. Graham didn't either. So if you're Jack Harvey, you're certainly disappointed.
Yeah, and Jack had his first lap at 2:30.4, and then he had a huge moment and dropped down to 2:25, brought it back up to 2:28, and then his tires were just scrubbed off and down to 2:23.
Yeah.
We're beyond the days with this current car where you can run a lap under 2:30. It's just, it's pretty much an abysmal attempt with your 4-lap average. Lundgaard just edged him just because of consistency, but you saw that he had kind of a good arc that a lot of the top guys had, where second lap is faster than the first lap, but then again, it's just the speed isn't there at all.
Which was, especially for the Hondas, it seemed like Chevy during the pole runs or during the top 6, Renus and Ed, they had the party button or party mode, so to speak, on that first lap where they could pull a little bit more horsepower. They had to back it down the rest of the run. Row 10, you've got Kyle Kirkwood, Dalton Kellett, and Juan Pablo Montoya. Kellett has that accident in the practice on Monday afternoon, hard contact. He was okay. I think just a little bit too late going into one to make a move, got washed up and into the wall. I don't know about this row. Kyle Kirkwood is a guy that I can see being a hard charger, but we saw at Texas him make some moves and put his car in places that it shouldn't have been. It ended up costing him the day. Dalton Kellett, it's Dalton Kellett. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like an a-hole or anything, but he's going to just keep it out of the wall if you're Dalton Kellett. I think
Foyt hasn't had a spark in their team in a little while. I think that's something that when it happens, it's going to surprise people, and hopefully they can get on a new trajectory, because the Foyt name is so synonymous with this event, with IndyCar, with the 500. Everybody loves the tough Texan, the two-fisted Texas man. So hopefully they can figure something out in their team just overall, because we know Kyle Kirkwood has talent.
Yeah.
Dalton Kellett has shown glimmers of speed in certain places.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those teams where it seems like once you go there, can you ever really see what your potential is? The one that stands out for me in this row is Juan Montoya. He's wily. He drove his way up through the field last year, got a top 10 and 9th.
I saw him today.
It's a long way back, though.
I saw him today, and he seemed to be in good spirits, was joking with a couple of his former Penske crew members, so we'll see. All right, row 9. What a row we have here. Colton Herta, who was super fast, super passy, if that's a term, in that practice on Monday. I've been told from a few people inside the paddock that he's one of about 3 or 4 cars that can pretty much dice his way and do whatever he needs to do. Scott McLaughlin, who we know has a fast car, was sitting there 13th or 14th, and just the conditions caught him out. And then Helio Castroneves, last year's winner, going for number 5. This is a very intriguing row, Luke.
Yeah, I mean, the furthest back was Louis Meyer in 28th, so it's possible, but of course that was a completely different time. I think the more recent one that you would want to look at would be how Rossi fared in 18.
Yeah.
Driving up from the last row. It's possible, and 18 was a very tough year. They said nobody could pass.
Pagenaud last year
was driving up through the field and came up a little bit short, but give it 2 more laps, he probably would have been fighting those two for the win, Palou and Helio. So it's possible. I think Helio can drive up through the field, to first. That's a huge feat once you get chopped through, all the chaos and mayhem of those first few laps. You just got to link in, get your strategy perfect, but that's a race where you just can't have mistakes, and you probably need a few things to go your way, a couple yellows, a couple good strategy breaks.
There's definitely that point, because last year Connor got up front. I believe Graham got up front too with some of the strategy plays and just a yellow kind of or thing just cycling in their direction.
And then they had fast cars.
And they had fast cars once they got up there. That always helps. And this is the furthest back a defending Indianapolis 500 winner has started since Ari Leyendyk started the 1998 race from the 27th position. Obviously, there are drivers who didn't come back the next year and defend their 500 crown, but this is a row to definitely watch and watch early. All right, row 8, you've got Devlin DiFrancesco, Marco Andretti, Sage Karam. We put this out on Burnout Sports this week. 101 is the number of total positions gained by Santino Ferrucci and Sage Karam over the last 3 Indianapolis 500s dating back to 2019. I think you'll see Karam charge towards another top 10 finish. Marco, he hasn't shown me that he's got the speed to move up. And Devlin has had moments where I thought he was going to hit the wall, and he's had moments so far this month where I thought he's held his own and he knows what he's doing. Anything kind of get the pulse going on this row?
Yeah, I mean, from what I've heard in the garage area, Devlin is level-headed. Mm-hmm. You know, he didn't really like how people were talking about him and some of the gossip that was going around surrounding Texas. Yep. That he, you know, just kind of wants to prove everybody wrong, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So he's just kept his nose clean, and he's been smart, and he's really studious from everything that I've heard. He cares about running a clean, smart race, and he knows that's what you need to do if you don't have the fastest car. Marco, you know, that's a sentimental thing for me. Like, my whole family roots for the Andretti's, no matter where they're starting in the field, no matter who they're driving for, and obviously it's been for themselves for the last couple decades. Sage Karam is kind of that bad boy part-time deal with him and Santino. Mm-hmm. I think they've got a lot of confidence. Sage has really been humble, I think, in his attitude the past couple of years. You know, he came into the sport and he tried to be the Paul Tracy. Yeah. And went through a lot of crap. Like, you know, you remember obviously the Justin Wilson incident, mm-hmm. him and Ed going back and forth at Iowa. But to your point, I'm going to cut you off. No. I talked to Sage last week on Wednesday, and you can catch that on Burnout Sports or at Tony D. Indy. And he said, you know, I think there's a lot of people that have seen me grow up, and it's crazy that this is my 9th Indianapolis 500. And just from I think I've interviewed Sage every year that he's been in the 500. And like you said, very humble. He got married in the off season, and I think he's a guy that says, look, I've got one shot a year, just like Marco and a couple other guys, Hildebrand. I've got one shot a year. I need to make the most of it, enjoy it, and be mature towards it. And I definitely have seen that out of Sage Karam. Row 7, another intriguing row. Callum Ilott has been a guy that I think is going to be a coveted free agent coming up. You know, if Renus moves on, Rossi moves on, Kirkwood moves on, there's going to be some seats that open up. We got plenty of time for the offseason stuff. Ilott, Alexander Rossi, another guy who just has seemed pissed, right? We all know he's probably going to McLaren. I wasn't mad. Get him somewhere. Get this man in a winning car. Yeah. If it's an Andretti and they figure that out, just put Rossi in a winning car. Holy crap. And then you've got Graham Rahal on the outside of row 7. Again, this is yet another incredibly intriguing row for me. Yeah. You know Rossi's going to charge. You know Graham is going to have a car towards the end. You know, I think these two follow each other up to the field. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they talk to each other and say, hey, let's link up. Let's get through this cleanly. Let's follow each other through on the draft. Stick together, get to the front. And look, I've never started Indianapolis 500. I've talked to a lot of people that have. But if I dreamt about it a lot. Yeah. but if I was Rossi, I'm saying, you know, that outside of the row usually has the preferred line going into 1, and it's like, you file in front of me, we'll get Ilott out of the way, and we'll just go, because you know Connor on the outside of the next row is going to go. Mm-hmm. You're gonna have some room. But Graham's a guy that, as we know, last year was very much in the mix. Had a great car charging in, was it 18 when he got in that Bourdais accident. So he's had really good cars here. So another intriguing row here in row 7. I think those are two guys that have a chip on their shoulder too. Rossi for different reasons than Graham, but Graham made a comment that his PR people let go. And it went out there. I'm a top 3 driver. He told it to me, like literally to me. Really? Me. It was myself and Eric Smith from Raceline Review during the test, and we were. I think Eric asked the question, and he said, "I mean, I have it." He's like, "I'm a top 3 driver." And look, we talked about this. I like that confidence. I really do. I don't want somebody in my car who doesn't have that confidence. So now I think. But let's go. Yeah, okay, you said it now, man. And there was a very tiny rumor that he was going to retire at the end of the year, which never took off. I don't think it's true. I hope it's not true. But yeah, like you said, okay, you've mentioned it, so now you've got to do it, and there's no better chance
to go out and prove it than this month at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Row 6, we kind of touched on a little bit already. Simon Pagenaud, J.R. Hildebrand, and Connor Daly. I think the three of us can agree. I think Pagenaud will be there at the end of the day with a chance. JR is a guy that will be consistent and will keep it clean.
He does keep it clean.
And can Connor get to the front and stay up front? He has had equally amounts of bad luck, just like Ray Hall, just like Rossi has.
And he's got good momentum, though. Coming off the GP, he survived that insane chaos. He not only qualified up front, but he finished top 5. In
great
a race
practice on Monday.
Great practice on Monday. Came out 7th in the speed charts on Monday. So he's, Connor's one of those guys that I think everybody from their hometown kind of has a lot of pressure on him when they race at Indy.
100%.
And everyone in Indy kind of expected him to just come out of the box and be in contention, even when he was in cars that weren't really in contention. He had a few Dale Coyne rides. He had
a Foyt ride.
A Foyt ride, yeah, and now he's got a good rocket ship underneath him. But I think that he knew, hey, we've just got to try to stay somewhere mid-pack qualifying. We can get up there. I know last year he qualified a little bit higher. I think he can get up there. I think he's going to work his way up through the field, and hell, he might latch onto the back of Rossi and Ray Hall. The three of them I could see charging, or Pagenaud as well. I think Hildebrand's probably going to have the first 100 laps of just kind of
cruising.
Let's not go below 20th. That's going to be a good. And he's the flagship Foyt car, ironically enough, even though he's the one-off.
And I hate that. Luckily for JR is that crew is full-time all year. Because it just always seems, it's like, it's the truth. It always seems like Coyne has something go wrong in the pits on one of their teams. It always seems like Foyt has something go wrong. So, if Hildebrand can get solid pit stops, I think he's a guy that can definitely finish inside of top 12. All right, row 5. You've got a very fast rookie in David Malukas, who has had speed all week. You've got Joseph Newgarden, who the pressure seems to keep building. When's he going to win the 500? He, I think a lot of people would bet that he's the next guy to win his first, although he hasn't been great during the 500. And you got Santino Ferrucci on the outside of a row. He's going to be charging towards the front. This guy's never finished outside of the top 10. Malukas, for me, just finish 500 miles. Don't, learn, put yourself in great positions and score yourself a top 10, go for Rookie of the Year. Maybe, remember James Davison after a bunch of wrecks a few years ago, filling in for Bourdais. I think Davison either led some laps or was in the top 5 on a late restart. So anything can happen. Newgarden, he's got the team, he's got the talent. Can he put it together? I mean, his best 500 run was 2016, where he finished 3rd with, I think it was Sarah Fisher or CFH or whatever it was. Then Ferrucci, hard charger, has never finished outside of the top 10. I think, I talked to Buddy Rice today, who's on the stand for him, and he said, he can get up there. We can do it, and that's probably the best. Sage Karam as well, Sage Karam's crew, but the best one-off pit crews down the line, I think, is probably Kanan's on Ganassi as well, but also the guys at Dry and Rhineville Racing. So your thoughts on row 5?
Row 5, real quick, Malukas, he's been at the top of the charts, hovering around there, surprising people all month, but, Dale Coyne has been pretty fast. With Sato, and we'll hop to that in a second. Malukas, I agree. It brings me back to, I think Santino is going to be a wild card. He's just going to be a wild card because the field is so tight, and he's been such a standout the past few years. Malukas, on the other hand, I think, don't let those speeds be an expectation that you put on yourself. Don't let it be an expectation that comes from the outside in of like, oh, I've got to finish top 10. It reminds me of Rick Mears, who always would say, my first time doing anything, if it was my first time at Pikes Peak, if it was my first time at Ontario Motor Speedway, I never put an expectation on myself other than to, let's just finish the race. Start with that, and then as the race develops, see where you go, see where you're comfortable. That's what he needs to do to get the best result, and that's how you would get a top 10, I believe. Newgarden, I could see him having a Rick Mears sort of day. I think he just needs to stay out of the trouble zones, be smart. You're going to have people that are dive bombing you back here in this, I call it the 10th to 15th spot. that's where people start getting a little desperate as you get near. It is, especially near lap 100 and beyond.
Well, to your point real quick, and knock on wood, we have not seen since, I should have done the research. Off the top of my head would be like 06. When was the last time we saw a lap 1 crash at the Indianapolis 500?
Marco getting taken out when he was in the Venom car in 08 with EJ Viso.
EJ Viso, so it was 08. Yep, that's true.
I think it's the last time
he was in that black
lap.
26. Yep.
Yeah, so hopefully everyone.
I know Ed got pinched in 2020 by Veach, but I don't believe that brought out a yellow. It was just contact. So the first actual incident wreck was, you're right, was 2008 with.
Yeah.
No, was it 8 or 9? I think it was 2009.
One of those.
It was 2009. I'm like 99% sure.
When this goes live, shout it out in the comments section.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was 2009 because I just started working at the radio station. But anyway,
so not we're due for it.
I think we're due for. There's a lot of things that we could be due for, and we saw it over the weekend. One of the things we were due for is let's break some records, and we did. Real quick, because it's just on my brain, and we're all scatterbrained. It's race week. I just wish there just didn't seem to be a massive hype. Is it because we didn't know that this was possible going into the weekend because of how crappy the conditions were Friday? It just didn't seem like the fans were cheering. There was a video on Burnout when, like you said, when Dixon qualified, everybody's cheering. But like, I knew it'd be around 233, but I didn't expect to break. And I said it on the show a couple weeks ago, like, let's break the record.
Yeah.
I guess I got to shut up because they did. But did you feel like there just wasn't enough? Like,
I don't think the fans expected it to happen. And
enough hype leading in, I guess.
Yeah, I think they were scared to overhype it because this track is so temperamental.
Yeah.
You never know, you get too hot of a day, too windy of a day, too cold of a day, and then boom.
And Indiana weather, who knows?
Yeah, you're barely cracking 231. So I don't think they wanted to hype it up and then disappoint people. We had that happen a few years ago with the aero kits for different reasons, with cars flipping in the air. They were like, we're gonna do away with these qualifying kits and strike it across the board between Honda and Chevy, and all the fans were like, boo. So I don't think they wanted to run into that and hype it up. I think people were just surprised.
Yeah.
The smart IndyCar, like the real knowledgeable fans, were like, oh, the conditions aren't as optimal as they were, and they don't have tailwind on the backstretch, which is what really boosts speeds. But, a lot of the guys that were in the Fast 12, when they went out to run to get into the Fast 6, they weren't going as fast.
Yeah.
Dixon really laid it down. He has almost a full mile an hour quicker 4-lap?
Yeah. So he has the quickest pole speed ever. But the second fastest qualifying speed of all time behind Lyondike, right?
Second fastest 4-lap average of all time behind Lyondike, and second fastest 1-lap qualifying lap behind Lyondike as well. And both of those are in between Lyondike first, now Dixon second, and then Scott Brayton third from 96.
That Lyondike car may or may not be within 40 feet of where we're sitting.
Maybe.
Who knows? You'll never know. You have to pay for the basement tour to come check it out here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Museum. All right, let's get to the Fast 12, which again we thought was exciting. Takuma Sato, Will Power, Jimmy Johnson, 2 former winners, and I would probably say the most hyped up rookie. I know we're going to talk about Grosjean, but I would say the most hyped up rookie since Nigel Mansell in 1993.
Well,
maybe Danica, but I don't know if Danica had the hype because she just didn't have the background and the accomplishments heading into her 500. So I would say Nigel Mansell in 93.
I mean, this is a 7-time NASCAR champion, 4-time Brickyard 400. Because Gordon was 5, Johnson's 4, I believe. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
You can nail me on the cross on Twitter.
I believe that's the truth.
So, one thing that we were talking to some of the crews at a party earlier today, and I know Tony's been walking the beat all month, but everybody in the paddock is saying, man, people don't understand that this isn't a fluke. It's not just because he's in a Ganassi car. This man has done more 500-mile races on ovals than anyone else in the field.
Yeah.
by far. He's studious, he's studying, and going back to what I said about Rick Mears, you know, Rick in a meeting with him in the museum a few weeks ago told him the biggest thing is don't put an expectation on yourself.
Yeah.
And if there's one thing that eating humble pie week in and week out at these street courses and road courses that are so foreign to him in this style of car, is teaching him is I don't need to have an expectation. We saw it come through in Texas. We saw him making moves that other people just weren't going to make outside of the two guys fighting for the win, Newgarden and McLaughlin. It shouldn't be a surprise, but it's amazing.
Well, and what really I haven't really spent a lot of time around Jimmy Johnson. Still haven't, but I rode the elevator with him the other day.
There you go.
Guy, like you said, humble, but he's really taking it all in. I mean, we saw him waving to his dad in turn 3. Set spotting for him, which I thought was a great moment. And you know, everybody keeps saying it, but it's true. He doesn't have to be out here. He has nothing to prove to anybody. But he's doing it. He's fast doing it. He's had some moments, as we know, but he's really taken this in and has really been enjoying it. And we saw his family here over the weekend for qualifying to make it even more special, because that seemed like his wife was the holdup there for a while. But yeah, glad Jimmy's here. Will Power, we know, will be there. I'll say this every year about Will Power. That dude will be in contention to win if he starts close to the front, which he didn't last year. He's just doing this year. But God, something always happens on pit road to Will Power.
Yeah. Oh boy, and he had a moment in pit road in the test.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So
and McLaughlin spun coming out of the pits
on a burnout.
Yesterday. So Will Power's got to have clean pit stops all day, which you could say about everybody, but it just seems like more than anybody, Will Power, something goes wrong.
Yeah, he's had, before he won in 18, he's just always had kind of bad luck here, that sort of Andretti trope of like, man, when am I going to get it? Now he's gotten it. I think he'll be there at the end. I think he looks fast. I'm not too worried about Will, especially starting 11th. He had good speed. He's the fastest Penske car out there. I think he'll be good. And then Sato.
Oof.
Sato in race trim has been at the top of the charts. Well, he hasn't been like outside of the top 10, I don't think, in any practice.
I mean, look, he's won the race 2 times, so we're not telling you anything you don't already know about Takuma Sato. He's going to be there. He's going to be quick. He's going to make the moves. I love the guy to death. Okay, would love to see him win a third. And I keep harping on this, and it's maybe seems like I'm not doing my research, but it's just the truth. Can his pit crew keep him where he needs to be? Mm-hmm. We saw so many green flag stops last year. I think we only had the one yellow with Graham. Was that the only yellow of the day? There might have been one other one earlier on, but under green flag stops, can Sato's crew keep him in it? We'll see. We know it's a fast car, and looking forward to see what Sato can do. Row number 3, Pato O'Ward, Rosenquist, and Romain Grosjean. The Aero cars had hella qualifying draws Friday night. I think they rolled off 3rd and 4th or 3rd and 5th.
They were up there. They were near the beginning.
So they got great conditions, ideal conditions. Ended up putting it in the 3rd row. Pato can get it done. Pato can win this race on Sunday. He was fast last year, obviously finishing 3rd. That team is always great in pit stops. I wouldn't be surprised. I'll call it now. They will win the pit stop contest on Friday during Carb Day. 50% chance of rain. Let's hope this stays away. Felix, again, we talk about this every week, qualifies well, fades in the race. He's a complete fade for me. Grosjean has almost crashed about 17 times this week. So
he got scared in that fast 6 run.
That leads me to
fast 12 run.
That leads me to believe that something may happen. But I think if you're Grosjean, just keep it clean and just don't mess up somebody else's race, for lack of a better term. Like don't be the guy that pushes somebody up into the wall, or we saw a lot of give and take on Monday's practice. Even though you're going to say, what do you mean give and take? Grosjean got in there, was a part of an accident that put Kell on the wall. But I think we're going to see that for the first 400 miles. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see a lot of give and take going into 3. We'll see a lot of give and take going into 1. and guys just kind of sorting it out, because you don't want to get chopped by somebody passing you on the outside, or you don't want to make a run on the inside and not have enough room, and the guy in front of you doesn't see you, and all of a sudden some dumb mistake on lap 78 because you didn't back off or you went for it too hard.
Well, with Grosjean too.
You.
With Grosjean, let's not forget, he didn't really have a Texas race.
Yeah.
Had Gateway where he charged up through the field, and then I forget if he came out on the wrong end of tire wear or tire strategy. I think, the eyes are on him.
Yeah.
This is the Indy 500. You're going into the corners with you could have a toe speed of 244.
Yeah.
If you have a big draft, you can't be banging into people.
Nope.
You can't be making moves like we saw Bourdais, who's an excellent driver, but in 19, the move he made on Graham Rahal.
Yeah.
And you've got all eyes on you, because he has been roughing people up a little bit. I love that stuff on a road course.
Yeah.
I love that stuff on a street course.
Elbows out on road and street courses anytime you want.
But this is Indy, man. You can't be putting somebody's life at risk or your own. So we'll see how he does. Rosenquist isn't a complete fade for me, man. I'm not gonna lie. Just based on the momentum I've seen.
I like the guy, but
he has speed.
Yeah.
He has speed. I think if the team puts everything together well, they were on. It's a totally different track, but just momentum-wise, they were on pace for a double podium.
Yeah.
And it wasn't his mistake.
At the road course race.
At the road course race, at the Indy GP, it wasn't his mistake that took them out of that, and he still ended up getting sixth.
Yeah.
Pato, I agree. I could see the two of them just kind of hanging in that top 10.
Yeah.
Ride nose to tail, protect your spots. People are less likely to try to make a bonsai move to split up a team that's running nose to tail and backing off a little bit, saving some fuel, saving some tire. But I think you've got some real rocket ships now going into Road 2.
Road 2, Ed Carpenter making his 19th career start at Indianapolis 500. Mr. Consistency, Marcus Ericsson starting in the middle of Road 2. Tony Kanaan finishing the top 6 in 6th. A guy that I think started 8th last year. It really was a contender, but we're coming down to, Kanaan's this or next year is probably his last years to run the 500. Ed can get it done. I think Ericsson is going to be there all day. I think he
dark horse
is
man.
I think Ericsson is going to be there all day on Sunday.
People are not talking about him enough. This could. I think Ericsson could win the 500. I think that is a legitimate.
So I haven't talked to Ed Carpenter at all. I waved to him this morning, Tuesday. I waved to him today. I always interview him. I always talk to him before the race. He hasn't won. So sentimentally, that would be who I want to win the 500. I'll admit that.
That'd be a huge win around here.
That would be incredible for me. I mean, him and Schechter were my favorites starting back in 02 for Schechter and 04 for Ed. That would be huge. But I'm with you, man. Marcus Ericsson. He's not going to be talked about as much as everybody else.
He's quiet.
And on Friday on Carby, that dude's going to be top 5 again in practice, maybe top 10 at worst. And all of a sudden on Sunday, you're going to be going kind of like Elio last year. You remember Elio?
Where'd he come from? Well, he's been there the whole time.
He's been there the whole time. He just hasn't. He's let everybody else duke it out for the lead, and now it's go time, and he's going to go for it. All right, row 1, Scott Dixon, Alex Palou, Rinus VeeKay. All 3 could win. I would not be surprised if it was Alex Palou. He right now is leaning towards my pick or my favorite. Rinus has got a rocket ship. I talked to somebody on his team yesterday after the practice, and somebody said that he is more excited about going into this 500 than he was when he was on Pato Award's team last year, and they took the lead on that final restart or that final, I think it was 25 laps to go, they cycled to the lead.
Yeah, something like that.
Dixon, I will never be mad when Scott Dixon wins a race. I love Scott Dixon. There's just something about this place that tells me he's only ever going to win the damn thing one time, Mario Andretti style, a 5th career pole. Like last year, bad pit stop. Sato outran him in 2020. Just crazy to think that Dixon only has one 500 win.
Yeah.
But God, I have
nuts.
a good feeling about Alex Palou as well.
He's a 6-time. Dixon is a 6-time champion. if there was anything close to the modern era GOAT, the Michael Jordan of current era IndyCar, it's Dixon by far. I mean, you look at any other races, even when he has terrible, terrible luck at other tracks, he still pulls the top 3 or top 5 out of nowhere. Palou, I agree. I think there's a lot of motivation after that duel last year. You know, Elio knew where to make the passes, when to wait, when to close, when to pull the trigger. You know, Palou has that experience now. He got in the ring with a 3-time then, now 4-time Indy 500 champion and duked it out with it.
Learned a lot.
Absolutely. Renus, this kid has no fear. And, you know, everyone in this top 12 just seems confident. But Renus is up there in the confidence charts and up there in the speed charts. And now we look at, you know, we have one practice this week under our belts in race trim. So, I mean,
guess who was fastest? Chip Ganassi Racing.
Alex Palou, Scott Dixon, Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy Johnson didn't do any fast runs at the beginning of the day. He actually ran by himself.
He ran Monday he ran a lot by himself.
So I don't know what that strategy was, if it was just getting him suited. I know he had a huge moment in qualifying. One of the best saves I've ever seen at this place. He turned right at the right time so that you don't kill yourself at Indy. And a lot of people were saying that's a NASCAR move. You let that thing stay tight all the way up to the wall, and you wait to correct until you're not going to rocket into it. Amazing. And he kept his foot in it. We watched the telemetry later. The only thing I saw was little blips off the throttle. And what I've been told is that's when your leg is shaking. So that's not voluntary, because a voluntary lift, you see it go, you see it breathe. You see it go down. His was just coming 1 bar out of like 90 bars. It was coming like 1 bar down. So
there was a couple moments qualifying for a couple guys that were interesting. Ganassi.
Sato was 4th.
I mean, if I had to close my eyes and you said there's going to be a shootout on lap 190, green flag, who's going to be the top 5? I would say Dixon, Palou, Ericsson, Sato, Carpenter, with probably Renus right there chomping at the bits. You know, I could see Award right there as well. I mean, realistically, I would say 14, maybe 15 guys can win this thing on Sunday. And I mean, that goes back to our previous shows where we talk about how tight the competition is, and which is crazy.
You know, you look at some of the guys.
You're not going to get that in Formula One.
No.
Sorry. I mean, I know NASCAR's had a lot of different winners this year, but you the only. I mean, yes, you get that in the Daytona 500 because you have the draft and the restrictor plate.
But here it really is just the entire sport as a whole. I mean, looking at the rest of the top 10 from yesterday, it's all mixed up again. You know, you have Simon Pagenaud 10th. Okay, that's kind of to be expected, even though they've been struggling this year. Sage Karam 9th. Kid gets this place. Connor Daly 7th. Marco Andretti 8th. Okay. Marco, I've been telling people though, Marco, if he can get everything right, he's been fast here, and more recently than people think. In the DW12 era, he's been a contender for the win. Joseph Newgarden showing some speed in 6th in race trim. But then you look down here, Pato Award 21st, Kanan 22nd yesterday's practice. Ed Carpenter 24th, Renus VK 25th. Kind of weird.
Ed was like that last year. I think in that last practice, which was on Sunday, and then the 2-hour on carb day, he was a little bit, you know, he wasn't up on the speed charts. And really, he ran 4th until that first pit stop killed him, and he still charged all the way back late for 5th. So Ed and Kanan and Dixon and now Palou. What I think that they have over some of these other guys is they know how to make their car Rick Mears style. We mentioned Rick a lot.
Work on those tools.
Work on those tools throughout the stints and get your car right exactly where you want it to be by lap 180, you know, and have yourself in a position to win this thing. All right, green flag, about 12:30-ish on Sunday. That'll come up on NBC. Carb Day is Friday. We'll have you covered all weekend with different stuff. Luke's Twitter, my Twitter, the IMS Museum Twitter, Burnout Sports Twitter. Make sure you're following us. Let's talk about some Indy 500 traditions and some of your favorite things to do and some of your favorite races of the past. So let's start with a race that you love to go back and watch.
I would love to go back and watch the 05 race.
Yeah.
I've tried to go back and watch the coverage of it, but it was Danica Mania.
Yeah.
So
Todd
my
Harris
boy,
was terrible. Sorry.
my boy Danny didn't get the coverage he needed. Neither did the real contenders like Vitor and.
Yeah.
But yeah, if I could go back and watch that in person and relive that experience of seeing him in that slick Jim Beam and Andretti Autosport car.
Yep.
He was there all day. I rooted for him since I saw him in 03 when he flipped in front of me.
Yep.
04, he was up there all day with one of my other favorite drivers, Buddy Rice, who
Yep.
you're pretty close with.
We talked to Buddy. You'll see it. Burnout Sports.
Burnout Sports, Twitter,
Quick plug.
YouTube. Yes, sir. But yeah, definitely 05.
Yeah, 05 was great. 11 for me because I knew Dan personally at that point. And then we kind of spent the rest of the summer celebrating that win because they brought him back for the Brickyard to give him his ring, and he was a part of Big Machine Records, and they were obviously a big sponsor back in 2011 of the Brickyard. 04, because I'm like you, loved Buddy Rice, one of my favorite wins there.
Such a good guy.
95 is a hell of a race from a competitive standpoint to go back
Jealous
and
I
watch
didn't get
that.
to see those.
Yeah. Man, I just, I sit in turn 3 like you. You're a little bit towards the backstretch more. I sit in turn 3. But, my dad comes in from Seattle, and it's been a tradition in my family since I was a kid. Like I mentioned, 94, with this beautiful Robbie Gordon car that was involved in that race. Was my first 500. And, I keep saying this, and I was on an ESPN radio station in Florida this week, and they asked, what makes this more than just a race? And you have the most practice time, yes, and qualifying's intense. But when any of us who have any pulse towards the Indianapolis 500 of the sport walks into the track and you walk up in the bleachers, you have never seen so many people in front of you in your entire life at any venue on any given day. You can't do it. I mean, we're talking music, concerts, festivals, I don't care what it is, that many people in front of you, albeit not as close, but spread out. It's an amazing sight. If you don't get tears in your eyes during back home again in Indiana and taps, you might be dead. And, the drivers put everything on the line for 500 miles right there in front of you, where at any moment disaster can strike. So that's just what I love about it. It brings out every emotion in you, right? Like I will literally on Sunday, I will be sad, I'll be mad, I'll be happy, I'll be angry, I'll be sentimental, I will be, there is this like...
Oh, sentimental runs through the whole day,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah, and then there is a, what do they call it, post-race depression.
Oh,
there's
so
literally
bad.
a post-race depression. Like Monday you get like the winner's victory shoot, and then you can either watch the banquet or you go to it.
Yeah.
But then Tuesday it's like that old
gone,
meme from Pulp Fiction. You're going,
yeah. Where is
what
everybody?
do I do now? Like the high is so high, but then there is that like, oh crap.
And that's what makes it so special too.
Yeah.
Like I think when I was a kid, it was always like if a driver that you were rooting against won.
Yeah.
Man, it's like I got all hyped up for a month. Really, the whole season, the whole springtime leading up to the 500, and now I gotta live with this guy getting paraded around for a whole year and then all next May. But if your guy wins, it's more that sentimental feeling of like, hell yeah, my
and
hero's up
usually for me it's been like I've always respected the winner. There's a few guys that I'm like meh. But covering this race like I have for the last 11 or 12 years, in radio, I had obligations to get back downtown. Here, thankfully with Burnout, like I'm dedicated to doing this throughout the month. And even today, we had the rookie lunch and talked to some of the rookies. Don't forget to check out the video of Roman Grosjean milking a cow, which Indy is weird. Things happen here, and the American Dairy Association does a great job. The milkshakes were great.
Now, did you get those milkshakes like straight out of the cow's teat?
Thank God, no.
Okay, so that was a separate station.
So
Okay.
we had outside and we had inside for that. But, and then we're recording the show on Tuesday night, and I spent most of the afternoon just kind of walking around and literally taking it all in. I did another podcast for my Tony Lee podcast, which was spider crawled on me literally mid-show, so I freaked out. But I kind of just sat out there, and I was doing a video, and it's already posted on Burnout's page, of one of my favorite traditions that I don't think it's talked about. It's just how cool it is that every driver's name and sponsor and team is painted on the wall. It's not necessarily painted anymore. It's on just like a sticker basically that they put on there. So I was like, well, this would be cool. I will walk the entire pit road and do like a time-lapse video of seeing it, something that maybe some people don't even realize on race day is going on. And I got distracted. So if the video is a little bumpy, it's because all of a sudden AJ Foyt rolls by on a golf cart and passes me, and I keep doing my thing, and I get all the way almost down to the end, and he's coming right back, and he goes right back by me again. And I'm at like Pallou's pit at this point, which is the second to last. So it's Dixon and Palou have the top two. And then he turns around, and I'm just like, well, AJ's now passed my video 3 times. Like, you could at least let me hop on the golf cart, and I could have just done it from the golf cart.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Can't wait to see everybody on Carb Day Friday.
Oh, yeah.
I know we always talk about getting back to normal after COVID, but certainly with that, I think Kings of Chaos will be a very good concert. Pit stop competition will be great. IRP this weekend has some great racing going on with the Mazda Road to Indy, the ladder series to IndyCar. USAC Silver Crown and Midgets are out there. That's always a great show at IRP. So I know Anderson has a little 500. Circle City Raceway has some racing going on too. I think I'm gonna talk to Cody Swanson this week here on Burnout about some things. So as much as we love the Speedway, because we do, but I also do like to give a shout out to some of the other open wheel, smaller tracks around town. So, all right, time to go racing. Your final thoughts here is I'm already having. I do this, and I'm sure you do too. All of my dreams right now involve a driver. Sada was in my dream last night. And I've had it once.
What kind of dream?
The dream last night was we were getting him to his car. Like, I still have this dream where I have to go back to college.
And everybody's clothes are on, right?
Well, everybody's clothes are on, thank God. Yes, but we got to get him to his car, and it's like on me. Like, I've taken charge to get him to his car, and he can't get through.
That's called a stress dream.
Yes. Well, and I will have the dream. I'll have the dream where I'm late, and I'm stuck on 30th Street, and I just park my car in somebody's random driveway and say, here's $20. I'll come back and get it later. Yeah. But I'm ready to go. I am ready to go. We'll have an IndyCar bet show where we break down the odds of it coming up this week. Media Day will be fun. I hope you can join me, Luke. And Media Day, we'll get some reaction to some drivers. We'll have some fun. I want to talk to Hinch for sure because I talked to him and had a great conversation with him a week ago. But
he drove Old Calhoun for us on Sunday, so that was a great time.
We'll have some videos from the museum with a lot of former drivers driving some awesome cars. So you'll see that here on Burnout and IMS Museum's Twitter and social media accounts, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just got a lot, and it's all jam-packed. And thank you so much for supporting it. Thank you so much for liking and subscribing, retweeting, doing all that good stuff. So, Luke, thanks again. Let's have one hell of a race weekend, and we will recap it all next week here on the IndyCar Show, Burnout Sports at burnoutsports.com.